I'm Mark Matsumoto and welcome to my Tokyo kitchen. Today I want to show you how to make a popular Japanese home-cooked meal that's redolent of ginger and packed with umami. It's called Shogayaki and it's easy enough to make for a quick weeknight dinner, so stick around. Buta no Shogayaki literally means ginger grilled pork in Japanese, and it's a staple of home cooking here. It's usually made with thinly sliced pork, but today I want to show you a method for making this with pork chops that renders them tender and juicy with a minimal amount of effort. If you marinate the pork in the morning, it'll take less than 10 minutes to cook, so let's have a look at our ingredients. I'm using 3 pork rib chops that are about 3/4 of an inch thick, and we're gonna marinate these with 30 grams of ginger and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then I'm gonna dust these with a tablespoon of potato starch and fry them in a tablespoon of vegetable oil. For the Shogayaki glaze, I'm using 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of sake, and 1 tablespoon of honey. I've also got some chopped scallion greens for garnish. The first thing I'm gonna do is peel the ginger. I like doing this with a small spoon because you can get into all the nooks and crannies, and the skin should come right off with moderate pressure. By the way, I'm using fresh ginger because it's more juicy, but this will still work with older ginger that has skin that's become a little more papery. Now I'm gonna grate the ginger onto the pork and rub it in. I'm using a daikon grater here, which speeds things up because the large holes don't get clogged up as easily, and you can pick one of these up on my kitchen tools shop that I'll link to in the description. By the way, the ginger in Shogayaki isn't just for flavor. It contains proteolytic enzymes like zingiberine that breaks down the connective tissues and renders the pork super tender and juicy. Now I'm gonna sprinkle both sides of these with salt, which will season the inside of the meat as it marinates. Okay, let's pop these into the fridge and let the ginger do its thing. For the Shogayaki glaze, I'm gonna combine the soy sauce, sake, and honey. Then I'm gonna stir the ingredients together until well combined. By the way, you can do the steps up to this point in the morning so the pork chops and sauce are ready to go when you get home from work. Alright, the pork's been marinating for about an hour, so let's get this out of the fridge. Then I'm gonna use paper towels to dry off the surface of the pork and scrape off any large clumps of grated ginger. The ginger has already permeated the meat, so you're not wiping off the flavor here, and by drying off the surface, it's gonna make it easier to brown. Now I'm gonna line up the pork chops and sprinkle on the potato starch. Then I'm gonna pat them against each other to give each piece a thin, even coating of starch. This coating is what allows the glaze to stick to the meat, so be sure you don't miss any spots. Before we fry this up, I want to thank Musubi Kiln for sending over this gorgeous Hibino Peacock Minoware plate. Having beautiful plates like this is one way to take your presentation to the next level, and I've curated a collection of some of my favorite tableware on Musubi Kiln's website, so hit the link in the video description down below to check it out. And be sure to use coupon code NORECIPES to get 5% off your order. Okay, I've got a frying pan preheating over medium heat, and I'm gonna add the vegetable oil and pork chops. Let this fry for about 2 minutes or until the meat starts to brown on one side. Then I'm gonna flip the ginger pork over and brown the second side. This'll take another 2 minutes or so. By the way, these times are for pork chops that are about 3/4 of an inch thick. So if you're using thinner chops, you'll need to crank up the heat a bit and cook them for less time. And if you're using chops that are thicker, you want to fry them for longer over lower heat. Okay, let's flip the pork over one more time. And then I'm gonna use paper towels and tongs to soak up as much of the oil from the pan as possible. This will keep the glaze from getting cloudy. To finish this off, I'm gonna pour in the sauce and turn up the heat to high. Now I'm just gonna flip the shogayaki over repeatedly until the pork chops are glazed in a thick, shiny layer of sauce. This is looking perfect, so let's plate this Japanese ginger pork up. Shogayaki is traditionally served with thinly shredded cabbage, so I'm gonna create a mound in the back like this. Then I'm gonna line up the pork chops on the other half of the plate. Be sure to drizzle any remaining sauce on top of the shogayaki. Let's finish this off with a few wedges of tomato. Sprinkle on some chopped scallions. And our Japanese ginger pork chops are ready to eat. By the way, this shogayaki is also super tasty as a donburi or rice bowl, so you can serve it sliced over a bowl of rice like this. Then you can hit it with some glaze and garnish. And I don't know about you, but my mouth is watering. This is one of those dishes that reminds me of my mom's home cooking, so let's try this out. Itadakimasu. All right, I've made a donburi with this over rice, sliced it up. Let's get some of that sauce. Oh. The pork is so tender thanks to those enzymes and that ginger. And the sauce has picked up the flavor of the ginger and carried it all around. You know what? I'm gonna go in for some of this rice down below with that good ginger pork sauce. This ginger pork is ridiculously easy to make, and it's happiness in a bowl, so I hope you'll give it a try. Well, I've got to run and get my driver's license renewed, but check out this playlist for more Japanese home cooking. And I'll catch you in the next one.